This will be a continual series of videos that present useful tips and techniques that can be used in the Inovista Animator. They assume a basic knowledge of how to use the Animator. In this video, we will look at images animating against the background. We will look at how best to manage concurrent animations where this appears to be unavailable. And we will also look at the creation of bar-style charts using only SVG and without coding, such as radii and non-standard indicators. Let's take a look at an example animation where there are many transitions taking place at the same time. The inner elements are all running transitions, while the containing image is itself moving and scaling at the same time. If we look at the animation in the Animator without the starry background, we can see what is happening. The background of the loaded image is shown as gray, so that we can see what the image is actually doing. If we run this with an increased speed, we can see how the image moves from left to right while scaling at the same time. Opening the transition list for the whole image by selecting the top element in the tree on the left, we can see two transitions. The first uses a movement and a scale to initialize the image of the left of the background while scaling it to 30% size. The second moves the image for a period of 20 seconds to just off the right-hand side of the image while scaling to 150%. Now let's look at concurrent transitions. The D3 library we use has some limitations in starting transitions at different time points for the same element. The trick here is to contain the element in a group for each transition that has a different time scale. So, if we open a balloon type image into an SVG editor, in this case Inkscape, we select the image. For the sake of this demo, there are no groupings at all on the image, just 4 paths. So select all those paths and from the Object menu, select Group. Right-click to set Properties and set the ID to Inner Group. Repeat this to create another containing group and name it as an Outer Group. The balloon should now be contained in 2 levels of groups. Open this image in the Animator. Reset the background and image sizes to suit the animation. Create a combination transition to initialize the image to the left. Add a curve transition that moves the image to the right in a single wave. Now, select the inner group in the element tree and create 2 combination transitions. In the first transition, we can scale the balloon smaller for a duration, and in the second, we reset it to its original size. This will give the impression of the balloon moving away. Adjust start and end periods to suit in the transition editor panel. Next, select the outer group in the element tree and add a new combination transition. Here, we will set a rotation. If we want the balloon to spin once, we need a rotation of 360, 720 for twice, and so on. Using 1080, adjust the timeline to start and stop the animation where we want. The Animator comes with a number of custom animations, such as the Radial bar chart, and of course developers can create their own custom images. But by setting up an SVG image in the correct manner, we can achieve this without the need for any coding at all. In Inkscape again, create a new image and add a circle by selecting the Circle tool and drawing while holding down Ctrl. Remove any fill that exists and edit the stroke setting, the size as required. Take a copy of the circle and paste it in place. Reselect the first circle. You may have to do this in the XML editor. And set the stroke width to the required size for the graphic. Next, convert this to a path by using the Stroke to Path option in the Path menu item. Give the circle a recognizable ID. In the Text and Fill editor, add a new stroke, setting the color and setting the width to a smaller size. The fill will be the background of this chart. Either hide it or set the color, remembering that, of course, we can change these in the Animator later. Set the ID so we can recognize it later. Now select the inner circle. You may need XML editor to do this, and set the stroke width as a little smaller than the outer circle. Set the fill color if required. One point to note is that the measure will start from the point the circle is drawn. In Inkscape, this is on the right-hand side. We can set the start point to wherever we want with a transform. Here, use Rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise in the Object menu. We can now save this image and load it into the Animator. In the Editor menu for the inner circle, set both the dash array and dash offset to the suggested length. Then create a combination transition, clicking on New Transition. In Attributes, we can set the dash array to the suggested size and the offset to the amount of rotation we want, and of course we can adjust colors, opacities and borders. To make use of this externally, we set any of these items to variables. One awkward point to note here is that the value we set for the measure is reversed. So if the length of the dash array is 200 and we want to show 25%, entering 50 will in fact show 75%. We need to set 150. When setting data with an external tool or code, we need to adjust for this by reversing the value entered. If we now look at a non-standard type bar chart, we can see that this can be achieved in exactly the same way as the Radial chart we have just created. This is a snake-like line drawn in Inkscape. Repeat the same process we have just used to create the circles for the Radial chart, and the image will look like this. Open that image in the Animator and again repeat the procedure we used for the Radial chart. In this example, there are two variables, one for the length and one for a color that changes at the end of the animation. Thank you for watching this video. Please check out our other videos for more detailed tutorials on how to get the best from the Animator.